right?
Not
I mean,
exactly.
in some sense, if I can sort of piggyback on Chris and things that Drew has been saying, this issue of the Second Amendment really is intricately intertwined not only into our American DNA, but it is also intertwined into our international policy and how we handle our defense systems and whether those same defense systems ultimately are used against Americans. Because if I just even bring one statistic to answer your question, you know, the FAA is now reporting that so far it has granted 327 licenses for drone use inside the U.S., and the FAA projection is more than 10,000 licensed systems by 2017. So we can look out today, we can have this beautiful blue sky, which is part of what will motivate me to really minimize my lengthy list of notes for having our chat today. But it does raise the question that if we are headed towards a nation where drone use will become a routine component of local law enforcement, which is now the common conversation that is going on, doesn't that circle right back around to the Second Amendment? And doesn't that beg the question of why are we seeing these things at exactly the same minute in the political history of our country? So where Drew and I started our conversation in January was at the point that the White House memo was leaked, quote unquote, on our use of lethal force against American citizens who, I will phrase, are suspected terrorists against the United States. Now, this is not the language used by White House counsel, but I think that we should do two things as part of our obligations and responsibilities as United States citizens. First, whenever you see that a White House memorandum of law has come to light through any means, it behooves you to read it. You do not have to be a lawyer to read a memorandum coming out of the White House counsel's office. The critical importance of you reading these memos is this: the White House has in-house counsel to evaluate and tell it that it's doing the right thing. Now, what sense does that make? That is not a system of checks and balances. This is not the president going to Congress and asking Congress to evaluate a proposal. Indeed, the United States Constitution prohibits the president from proposing legislation with one exception, and that is commencing the annual budget process.